friends! Welcome back to Belle's Library. I'm Heather, and I'm back with Belle's Bookland. We're going to be doing March's TBR. I absolutely loved doing this last month for the first time, and I am excited to do another round. Before we get going too much here, if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and click the button down below so that you can watch more of Belle's Bookland and all of my other fun videos. I also would love to hear what you guys are thinking about my new kind of angle to the camera. Do you like me having this background thing going on? I put a fun St. Patty's type one on there since that's coming up. I wanted something kind of green, and I don't know, this one just looked kind of fun and perfect for the March season coming up here. So before we get really rolling into the actual TBR part, I wanted to review with you guys how I did with my February TBR and see if I need to take a punishment. I was definitely thinking that I was gonna have to towards the beginning of the month, because if you watched my mid-month wrap-up, I had only read 2 out of the 7 books, I think. We were halfway through the month, and February is only 28 days, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to finish 5 of these books, and like, they were chunky books in the last couple weeks. So, but I think I actually did it. So here is a few of the books off of my shelf that I had to read. So I have finished Sadie, and the Night Swim, and Supernova. I also finished The Poet X, The Space Between Worlds, and Black Sun, which were all from my library. And the last book I need to get to is The Sky Beyond the Storm. I am like 50 pages into that one, but it is Friday while I'm filming this, the 26th, so I still have almost 3 full days to work on that. And I think I can at least make a really good dent in it, and as long as I am almost done, I'm going to take that as being okay without a punishment. So with adding in these books, I'm actually doing well with filling out my first 2 rows of red books on my bookshelf here. And then once I get this one in there, we'll be pretty much full. So that's really exciting because I'm trying to definitely read off my bookshelf more. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about really briefly here is I hadn't totally decided on a punishment if I were to not finish my TBR one month. And I think at this point in time, on my board, I have the little like black dots, which are like the licorice in Candyland, and those are punishment spots if I land on those. And I have a stack of cards that are like punishment cards with prompts on them, and I think I'm just going to use that. So if I didn't finish one book, I would have to pull one of those cards and follow that prompt. Or if I didn't finish 2 books, I would have to pull 2 of those cards and follow those prompts, and that would be on top of what I would regularly roll and have to read for regular Belle's Bookland rolls. So I'd be having to kind of add on some books as well as work through some tougher prompts. I know some of the prompts in there are like, read one of the longest books on your TBR, or read a really low-rated book on your TBR, or read a nonfiction, just because I don't read a ton of nonfiction. So that one, I'm not tending to pick something like that up, so it is considered to be a part of that punishment area for me. Oh my goodness, words. So that is kind of what I'm thinking as far as that goes. With the month of March coming up, I do have school amping up even more, so I'm really hoping that this month's TBR isn't too rough, because I am going to be doing 2 12-hour shifts on Thursdays and Fridays throughout the entire month, and then I also have all of my other schoolwork at home on top of that, so it's going to be a lot going on, and I'm going to be really tired. But we're going to try and listen to some audiobooks. I do have quite a few books coming up on my Libby app that are ready. I want to get in on a couple of book clubs, so we'll talk about those as I go. And then I do have some NetGalley arcs that are coming out this month that I am hoping to get to as well. So we'll see how they fit in, and then what doesn't fit in, I will fill you guys in on at the end. But let's go ahead and just get into the first roll. Okay, let's do our first roll. It's gonna be an 11. Oh, here's a little chip. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And fantasy. Awesome. I was hoping for some good fantasy this time. So roll number 1 is a fantasy. Okay, so the first roll was a fantasy. I have decided to go with Legendary by Stephanie Garber. This is the second book after Caraval, and this series has 3 books total. I'm really hoping to finish this series off this year, and I'm excited to get back into this one. Caraval was one of my favorite books last year. So basically, Scarlet is invited to go to this island that is run by Legend, and he puts on this like game show type thing where it's all audience participation and everybody's trying to win and figure this thing out, and whoever wins this year gets to win a wish from Legend. And it's just kind of got these fun magical elements to it. It's got a fun game where you're racing to the end. Also, Scarlet's sister kind of gets pulled into the mix as well, and she is taken by Legend as a part of the game, but then is it really just a game? Is kind of what you're questioning. And yeah, it's just super fun. I love kind of this lyrical, magical writing that she has, and it just envelops you into this world, and it's super fun. So I'm excited to get to Legendary. All right, so roll number 2. I'm hoping will be something like an 11 again. We got an 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, a second fantasy. Well, I guess we're just gonna fantasy it up. Okay, so number 2 was another fantasy. So this one I'm actually going to go ahead and fill in with Blood and Honey. This one is almost available on my Libby app, and so I'm going to want to get into this one next month. And I think that this one also could add in a little bit of romance because it's kind of a fantasy romance as well, and I'm just really needing a little bit of romance in my life. I've been reading a ton of fantasy and sci-fi, and I just, I need a little bit of that. The first book, this is a trilogy as well, and Blood and Honey is the second book. So the first book, Serpent and Dove, is about Lou, who is a witch, and she leaves her clan, and she's kind of trying not to use her magic and just write it off. And then we also have Reed, and he is a witch hunter. He's a chasseur, and due to some very interesting circumstances, they actually end up getting married. Reed does not know that Lou is a witch, and things kind of ensue from there. It's very fun and witchy, which I adore. So I'm excited to get to the sequel of this one. All right, so roll number 3, here we go. Oh, I knocked him over. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so a sci-fi. Wow, I'm gonna read a lot of sci-fi this year, I feel like. Okay, so we got a sci-fi for roll number 3, and I have been dying to get to this book for a long time now, and I just haven't fit it into my TBR, and it's just time to make it happen. And that is Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I literally do that every time. Illuminae was one of my absolute favorite books last year. I adored it and loved it, and I really want to get to the sequel, Gemina, and see how this goes. If you guys have not heard about this series, it is fantastic, and it is completely told in mixed media. So we have interviews and emails and different correspondence, and it's just really makes an experience when you're reading this. And it's just so fun. I'm also hoping that as much as this is like a chunkier book, it should go pretty quick since it is kind of mixed media. So it's in the 600 pages, almost 650. But I am way excited to get back to this world. And it's set in space on some different ships. I think this one actually might be on a actual like space planet. What's it called? A space center, like a, I don't know what I'm talking about. We'll find out when I get into it, but it's gonna be wonderful, I'm sure. The nice thing is, I just told you 3 sequels, so I'm gonna be working through some of these series that I've started. I started so many series last year, and I didn't finish like any of them, and so I'm really trying to make better on that, and that was one of my goals, so I'm excited that I am making that happen. All right, so let's do roll number 4. We got 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we got another sci-fi. Okay. Double fantasy, double sci-fi. Okay guys, rule number 4 is another sci-fi. We're just gonna really stick with this fantasy and sci-fi theme for this game apparently. I was hoping that this game would help me mix up some of my reading, and I guess it's bringing me more sci-fi, which was a goal for the year, but I definitely was hoping to just have a lot more genres happening. That's okay. Maybe next month will be like all romance and contemporary or something. Okay, so for this one, I decided that maybe I needed something a little bit shorter because I do have some kind of longer books. Fantasy tend to take me a little bit longer to get through, as well as sci-fi. So I'm gonna go with Binti. I'm hoping that's how you say it. The author is Nnendi Okafor. So this book is about Binti, and she is the first of her people to go to the university, and they are the best university as far as learning in the galaxy, and they're like a higher learning type institute, so very revered for her to go there and for her people to be able to go there. It's a very big deal, and so her going to study there is kind of coming at a cost of her leaving behind her family and her traditions. And also the university kind of started this war with this alien race, and she kind of is getting caught up in the mix with that as well. So definitely sci-fi, and it's only like 100 pages, so it sounds really interesting. It is something that's been on my radar, I just haven't picked it up yet, so I'm excited to see how this one goes. This one also is by an author of color, so I've been trying to read more from authors of color, so this kind of adds into making sure that I'm reaching that goal as well this year. Okay, and then roll number 5. Let's see, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Another sci-fi. Oh my goodness, we are not mixing it up this month at all. I really want to hit one of my little special squares, and I really want some romance. I have yet to get romance on either of these games so far that I've done. Wow, we got another sci-fi. I cannot even believe this. Okay, so for this one I'm choosing Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, and this one is basically about like an actor and a couple other people. I don't know. One of them dies, like the actor or actress or something, and then they go back and forth in time. There's a lot of time travel back and forth, it seems like, and there's like a theater group that's going through it. And I believe when they go into the future, like the world's very different and you get kind of a dystopian vibe when you're going into the future. Something like that. We'll find out more when we read it, but I am intrigued by the idea, and I think that what pulled me into this one was honestly the future world and it not being the same as now, and then also there's like a traveling theater group or something, which sounds interesting as well. So that is going to be the pick here. Okay, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, fantasy. We're fantasying it up again. Okay, very fantasy and sci-fi heavy. All right, roll number 6. We should not be surprised. We have another fantasy. And for this one, I should have done this earlier, but I'm going to add in some of my book club picks here. We're going to do City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, and this is being read by Simply We Read, which I will put Kaylani's channel down below, so if you guys want to check out and kind of join in on buddy reading this for the month, you can. I actually listened to this on audio in December, but I was getting really lost in some of the names and the characters, and just I just was lost with it, so I ended up like speeding it up and just like speeding through it really fast, and I was like, I'm just gonna go back and reread this physically. So we are gonna do that this month, and so I can start the series because it sounds very interesting to me, and I was, somewhat enjoying what I was reading. I just was having a hard time with the audio. So this is basically about this girl, and she ends up summoning a djinn on accident and finds out that she is part djinn, and he takes her to the City of Brass, which is where like all the djinn clans live, and there's a lot of clan that clash and stuff like that. That's my general synopsis for you guys. All right, the cat kind of moved things around. I don't know if that's in the same position, but here we go. Which roll are we on? 6 or 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is roll 7? 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, this is just getting ridiculous. Here we go with some more fantasy. Okay, another fantasy. Here we go. I am actually going to do another book club pick. This is Jessie May's Discord book club that I will also put her channel down below for you guys. I actually read Black Sun in February with this group, and it was fun to just kind of be going along and reading it with some other people and getting some other thoughts and opinions. And so I'm going to be doing Fate of the Fallen by Kel Cade, which is the March book pick. And this one is about like a prophecy, and this hero is chosen to kind of save the world, and he has to go on an adventure to do so, and he brings along his best friend who, you know, is there to help, but kind of was like, I don't really care for going on adventures and being this kind of person. So, but he's there to back him up because that's what best friends do. And yeah, so we've got some prophecy and like an adventure, and that's about all I know at this point. This one actually really wasn't on my radar, and I'm mainly joining in because I want to be part of the discussion and see what's out there that's a little bit different than maybe what I would usually pick up, and we'll see if I like it. All right, let's see if this next roll we can get something different. Come on. Here we go, here we go, here we go. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh my gosh, yay! We got a romance. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, my first romance. Well, roll number 8 is a romance. Oh my gosh, we're gonna have something different. I'm so excited. Okay, so this one I'm actually gonna put in one of my NetGalley arcs. She's Too Pretty to Burn by Wendy Hurd. And this one is kind of a romance, but it's also kind of a thriller. So we have a sapphic romance going on, and then I think it's like during the summer, and I think there's actually 2 best friends, and then like a newcomer comes into the group, and there's a romance with the newcomer. So I'm just gonna read this little like part to kind of bring in the thriller part. So it says, 1 fire, 2 murders, 3 drowning bodies, 1 suspect, 1 stalker. This is a summer they won't survive. So, I mean, it's just got some fun, like, thriller vibes with a little bit of some romance in there, too. I don't know. I'm kind of curious as to how those are both going to work in there and see what I think of this new book that's coming out. And this one, so this one's coming out at the end of March on the 30th. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, let's see if we have to do one more book. Okay, here we go. We're going to see if we have one more book or if we're going to get to the end with this one. Here we go. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Perfect, so we can be done. Okay, so there is all of the rolls for Belle's Bookland, all 8 books that I have to get through to not have a punishment. I also have a few more books that I'm hoping to get to this month, and a couple of those are NetGalley arcs that I have. I have Body of Stars by Laura Maylene Walter, and this one is kind of a sci-fi dystopian about these women who are born with like all these different markings on their body, and basically once they kind of move into womanhood, they can then tell the future from these markings, something to that effect. Also, when they are kind of in this transition period, they become very irresistible to men and easily abducted, and so there's kind of a lot of tension going on there. I don't know, I'm not 100% sure where this is going to go, but I definitely am interested, and we'll see. The other NetGalley arc that I have is The Lost Village by Camilla Sten, and this one is about a documentary filmmaker who is very interested in this old mining town where everybody just kind of went missing back in, I think it was 1959, and so she gets a film crew together, and they all go and they're going to go camp there and check it out and make a documentary film about it. But then mysterious things start happening. So I'm excited to kind of have like a horror novel thrown in here because I haven't had one of those for a little bit. And then I do have a couple other books coming up in my Libby app that I am hoping to maybe slide in here as well. I have We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. I absolutely loved The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson last year, so I'm hoping to read a little bit more by her. And I really liked the audiobook, so I got another audiobook, and we'll see where that one goes. She writes like classic horror novels. Okay, and then the last book that I'm adding in here that I'm really hoping to get to is Slay by Brittany Morris, and this is about a girl in high school. She's like an honor student, but she's also the only Black girl at her high school, and she creates this online role-playing game where other Black students can kind of join in and have this like universe to themselves, but then it becomes this big controversial thing because somebody murders another player in real life over a dispute of the game, if that makes sense. And so I'm kind of curious as to where this is going to go. I've heard really good things about this one. I also would like to add more authors of color into my TBR this month, and so this one would add a second book in there as well. So those are all of the, I think that was like 12 books that I'm going to attempt to get through in March, which, I mean, on average, I probably read about that much. So hopefully it'll all work out beautifully. I'm hoping to have a lot of access to audiobooks because I will be driving a lot, and hopefully that'll help me move through some of this. But I hope you guys super enjoyed Belle's Bookland, and you guys will subscribe to my channel. And then I would absolutely love to have the sloth emoji down below if you've made it this far. So throw those little cute sloths down below and hit the subscribe button, and I will talk to you guys